It's not all bad, aging. Right now I'm 39, so I'm almost 40. In my 20s, I was really driven by external things like money, getting promoted. Right now, what brings me happiness is when I'm able to create and work with clients that I love. I take much better care of myself. I drink a lot less, I eat better.
I am 71, just turned 71. What I've really enjoyed about aging is that I don't have a boss anymore. I'm doing what I'm passionate about. The other thing is, I don't give a damn as much about what other people think of me, but you do have the opportunity, I think, to say more about what you think.
I feel as if every decade of mine has been better than the last. 30s were better than my 20s, my 40s were better than my 30s. I'm gonna turn 50 this April. I am just totally psyched.
Gives me the opportunity, to share the experiences that I have and the places that I go and what I do.
I think that you have to enjoy each year that you're here and hope that there'll be more.
I am 60 years old. I'm not embarrassed about myself being older, and I think it's something we should all embrace. Nothing is really more meaningful as a human being than the aging process.
I first started thinking about aging, I would say, when I was 8 or 9 years old. I have this memory of when I was with my grandmother, and she had these liver spots all over her hands, and I thought that, God, I don't want to have those liver spots. And then when I was a teenager, my mom was dating a dermatologist. He was obsessively telling me to wear sunscreen, which is good advice, right? But it wasn't just about avoiding skin cancer. It was also about not turning into a leather bag and avoiding wrinkles. Then, when I was 19, my father offered to buy me breast implants. In my 20s, I dated a lot. I felt pretty attractive. And then in my 30s, I was in a long-term relationship. I got out of that relationship at about age 34 and started dating again. Online dating was really at its peak, and suddenly, like as a 35-year-old, I was out of the age range of people who I normally would have dated before. It's kind of an interesting dynamic because I also see the reverse occurring where older women are dating younger men. I mean, I've been called a cougar, and I say cougar cub because I'm not 40 yet, but I meet a lot of 20-something guys too. But somehow that still doesn't help me feel any better about getting older. At the same time, I was hearing stories of friends who were in their mid-30s, and they were already getting Botox. Of course, this was in California, and people are a little more vain out there, but I just thought that that was out of control.
My background in aging probably started around 1980. I saw there was going to be an interest in this area, that the population was aging. And I always loved people older than myself. I have many friends, as I do now. A lot of them are in their 80s and 90s, and they're so smart. And they're doing such wonderful things. What things have been challenging for me personally? Well, I'm starting to see a couple of physical things. Like, I usually walk an hour to an hour and a half a day. Now, my heel bothers me. I started wearing glasses when I was age 50, so I've had a shift. So now I go swimming, or I go to water fitness classes, which I adore.
Well, I can't even see myself after 40. It's this weird thing. I just it goes blank, it goes black.
What happens to a lot of women over the age of 40 is that you become invisible. You walk down the street, and unless you've got an absolutely fabulous body, men will not look at you anymore. And after having been looked at and whistled at for years, all of a sudden there's like this reverse. And I'm talking about myself, hated it when I was younger. At a certain point, I'm like, what happened? I am no longer valued in this society.
Probably in my mid-40s, I began to notice less attention just overall, not just by men, but by women. If I go into a department store, I'm not generally asked if I need help. It's almost like I'm not there. The youth and the beauty are not there in the way that they used to be. So once that's gone, I'm going to be in big trouble if I haven't done some work about that before I really begin to show signs of wear and tear and aging.
My body is changing. I used to be able to bounce a quarter, not literally, figuratively, bounce a quarter off of my stomach. My thighs and my butt are not what they used to be. Gravity's taking over a little bit. I actually have to work harder to keep things tight. I feel like there's more and more pressure to have certain things a certain way in my life. A lot of people around me have family, they have children. I'm single, I've got 2 cats, no kids. Whenever I go to family events, I'm going by myself as a single. Like, am I gonna be a spinster? And does my family think I'm gay? I know my dad's worried about me. My sister's worried about me. She really wants me to find a partner. So even if I meet crazy guys, she'll try to make him sound a little better than he actually is, so that maybe I'll just bite the bullet and be with someone, because it's better to be with someone than to be alone. I think where this comes from is definitely fear. I don't really know if it's a fear of dying, if it's a fear of not being desirable enough to have a partner. I think it's also related to a desire to be attractive and look like what we see in the media and advertising, because we're so bombarded by that imagery that to us it's normal. Like, that is normal, when in actuality people in magazines and the media probably represent 1 to 10% of the real population. You don't really see women in the media and advertising who look like they're older than 35 years old. So I don't know how I can be attractive and vibrant after 40. Like, I just don't know what that looks like.
Ageism, of course, the discrimination that comes about around age. It could be young or old. And I think in general, women, at least in this cohort, are addressing ageism in a personal way by trying to deny their own aging. They're viewing age as an optional thing.
It just seems that there's almost a war out on, like an attack, all-out attack against aging and showing any signs of it.
It's not about just moving against old people. It's not, our society's not just saying, oh, you can't get old, but it's saying you can't age. I started noticing a lot of the anti-aging advertisements right in my mid-30s, both in magazines, print advertisements, a lot about celebrities and their plastic surgery, weight issues. I would go online and there were a lot of animated ads of women with wrinkles. And the animation would go over and the wrinkles would disappear. And unlike a print ad where you can just turn the page and not see the ad, when you're dealing with an online ad, you can't avoid looking at it. I look at movies and the women, they look like wax or they look like aliens. They don't even look like real human beings anymore.
The media it's incredible. I've had conversations with friends. We always said that if we had daughters, we would never have them watch Disney movies, Snow White or Cinderella, because these women basically had no power until someone came and swept them off their feet and gave them some kind of value that was not their own. They didn't have a voice. And although these are very cute little Walt Disney films, they have an amazing, powerful message. to young girls.
When I grew up anyway, a lot of the fairy tales and a lot of the messages that women got was that they weren't whole if they didn't have a man. And to me, having a man is icing on the cake. It doesn't define us. When I do die, I'm going after Walt Disney.
How often would you say that you are exposed to the messages?
Every day, daily, definitely. I start to compare myself to the people that are portrayed in the ads. And I think, wow, I'm not bleaching my teeth or getting surgical procedures or doing Botox. And if I'm in a bad space, it makes me feel badly about myself. And then on good days, I feel happy that I'm able to resist that constant bombardment.
What's going on here?
So what I've been doing, which I think may be a little crazy, but crazy is good because that's the way things get done lots of times. I've been collecting these clippings. I just happened to find this today. Since we're talking about this subject, I thought this was a perfect example. This was in the Bloomingdale's catalog. What do you see when you look at this?
Well, you want me to be honest with you?
Yeah.
It just looks like she's ready to get a little sex from behind.
It's like, I'm ready for it. And nothing wrong with having sex, but it's just that it seems to me that it's always the woman who has to be the object. And the man is in a more positive kind of view.
Dignified.
He's usually dignified. That's exactly the word.
So Tommy, what do you think of this ad?
I see a pretty big phallic symbol. Yeah, and a woman that is bound to or actually getting it from behind.
Sex sells. Come on. I mean, women are objectified in the ad industries. You put a pretty girl on a car and you sell the car. It does a number on people's self-image. I think it's a shame.
So how many ads would you say are of women in their lingerie?
Let me just say first that I think the percentage of women in their underwear to men in their underwear is probably 90-1. Here she is again in her bra. It's like, hey, are we gonna have sex? I wanna have sex. Or, screw me.
I think that there's such an emphasis placed on youth and beauty as far as women are concerned, so that if you don't have either one of those things, then you are without value.
So how do you think this affects women?
I think it affects them rather in a negative way, that they should have a perfect body like this. And if they don't, they're not worthwhile. And also, that's the only way that men are going to be attracted to them, is if they look like these women. And if they don't, there's always a certain amount of depression.
Now, you look at television. You'll see men who look like they're in their 80s. They're either the heads of a corporation or this and that. How often do you see an older woman on TV?
The men in the films, Clint Eastwood, Woody Allen, what are they, in their 70s and 80s? But who will be their romantic partners? Usually women in their 40s. But if women are with younger men, as you know, now they have a TV program called Cougars or Cougarland. We're going to be out there like this, getting our teeth and our claws into a young man or something? For God's sakes, how, if we do want to go out with a younger man, do we have to be called cougars? And then, of course, if it's a man, if I say tiger, oh, that's good, he's a tiger. But how absurd. Another problem I have is, where are the older women in these ads?
Right.
And if you look at the Mother's Day ads, it will usually be a young mother, as if we were not mothers.
Yeah, and even if you're a grandmother, you're still a mother.
And then when they do have ads for older people, wheelchairs, diapers, diabetes things, very few things about the vitality of older people. So how does that affect older people and younger people?
Right.
Especially younger people who don't have their grandparents around. They don't have a lot of models. And so they think of older people as old farts or
Not being able to take care of
and
themselves.
not part of society.
They're separated. It's a way of isolating, kind of.
Yeah. So now we're looking for
A woman, let's say over 40,
okay.
or at least who looks like they're over 40.
Okay.
So we still haven't found a woman who looks over 40.
Yeah.
Let's keep looking. So it doesn't look like we're having much luck finding over
No.
40 woman.
No.
Have you ever, I mean, in these, have you ever seen a woman who looks like she's over 40?
Oh, here. I found a lady. she's a person of color and she's older.
Which one?
This lady
Oh.
with the gray hair.
Wow, we found one picture. That's
Yeah.
exciting. When I see an older woman in an ad or in a movie, it makes me really happy because I feel like finally I'm looking at something that's real and not contrived or airbrushed to the max or plastic or waxy looking. I think that real is in and fake is out. I think that there are a number of ways to address some of the dysfunction that we're experiencing as women in this culture. I also think that we need to command our own worthiness, like expect others to respect us and for us to respect ourselves. I also think that women should think twice between buying into what the media and advertising tell them, whether it's literally paying for a product or service that keeps them looking younger, and just acknowledging that we bring more value to society than just sex. It's just a part of who we are, but it doesn't define our value.
I think at some point you might have to face up to the fact that you are aging. What's wrong with looking older and being proud of yourself and liking where you're at? Gosh, I mean, we're aging from the time we're born.
The body, as we age, is doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
So women are the number one solution to their problem.
I think who we get our great support from are other women. And I think female friendships are always important, but I think they're particularly important as we age.
Well, the most powerful thing that people can do to support aging women, I think, are aging women themselves, because it's through organizations like OWL or other organizations, Grey Panthers, where older women are a force for this society. I'm very active in the Older Women's League. I also have a small business called Legacy Film Series.
I work with a lot of the other women's organizations and the aging organizations here in DC. We work on access to health care, economic security, and quality of life issues.
Most of my professional life, I have been working on advancing civil rights and health and social welfare rights for people, including women.
On a systemic level, advertisers and the media, they have the responsibility to portray women accurately, of all shapes and sizes, all ages, different ethnicities, because that's real.
Now, there's some consciousness, like Tina Turner is in her 70s maybe, Barbara Walters. We're seeing a little more openness.
I wrote to Macy's ad department, "Dear Sir or Madam, I must protest the prurient nature of your newspaper ads. They feature women in their underwear showing a lady's crotch in skimpy bikini underpants. No similar ads of men showing their crotches. Rather, there's a man in a suit and two other men in shirts. You're perpetuating the myth that women must look sexy and provocative." I actually got a letter from the Vice President, Creative Director, Macy's West, and it's a female. Thanks for your recent note expressing your concern and dissatisfaction with the swimwear and lingerie photography. It's never our intention to neither offend anyone nor endorse any negative behavior towards others.
What do you think of her response to you?
Ridiculous. She didn't address anything that I talked about.
What do you think is important about what you're doing here and sharing this with us and sharing it with younger people?
I remember Elie Wiesel said something like, if you stay neutral, the oppressor has the upper hand. And of course, we're not talking about Nazi Germany here,
Right.
but we are talking about the fact that if you don't say anything, then nothing's going to change. And if you want things to change, you really have to do something about it.
What would these ads look like if they were more balanced in how they represented men and women in a dignified way?
Well, women doing what they do, which are a million and one wonderful things. Now, the other day, Kaiser did the most fabulous ad, and it had all kinds of women in it. Different colors, different races, different ages, all very vital, all doing wonderful things. I thought that's about the top ad I've seen.
There was always an inner voice. I think most of us have that. It's just that we do not listen. When we begin to give voice to that out loud and listen to other women, I think it's the beginning of challenging societal structures and norms that don't make sense.
I think really what it comes down to is honoring the information that comes from within as opposed to giving my power away or letting the messages I get from the external world overshadow what I know is possible from the inside. So if we really honored the aging process and women in particular as they get older, our society would look a lot different. I would love to see half of Congress be women. Since our population is over 50% women, our government should reflect that. So it should be proportionate. I think we'd have less war. We would have more women in corporate leadership positions, which might lead to a triple bottom line mentality.
I think for the period of time that they are older, that they have a vibrant community around them that they are actively engaged with.
That we would see older people more, that they would be more public and just involved in more everyday activities, more integration of the ages, that we would all be spending time together.
We would see a lot more aging women in the media. We would see films about older women that portrayed them in a realistic way, and we might see an older woman in the White House.
I think a culture that honors aging women would value the time that women spend out of the paid workforce and award them by keeping them free from poverty in old age.
Probably a more balanced, equal sharing of power among gender. That would be enough for me.
I'm full of mantras at this point. One of them that I'm very fond of is this: age is just a number and it's unlisted. It's such a clever idea because the fact is it's true.
Looking forward, next 40 years, I just want to be a happy person. I want to flow with nature and be surrounded with love, both personally and professionally. And just being healthier physically, mentally, energetically. That's what I want for myself the next 40 years.